Hey, I think we're
Hey,
live now. All right. Hello, my name is Tyler Crook, and I'm the artist on Harrow County, Manor Black, and a bunch of BPRDs. And this is Drawn to the Shop. And the idea of this show is that it's dedicated to celebrating your local comic shop and the vibrant communities that rise up around them. Um, and Today is April 5th, 2020. If you open up your history books and look at this day and time, you'll realize that there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today. So anyway, the idea of the show is just to shine a spotlight on a comic shop, and the hook is that while we're talking, I'll be drawing a picture right here. You can watch on the stream, and then, as soon as it's done, I'll mail it off to our comic shop. And if you spend $100 or more at that shop between today and April 8th, 2020, you'll be entered to win the original art that I'm drawing today. So on the show, on our maiden voyage, here is Andy from Cosmic Monkey in Portland, Oregon.
hey,
Hi,
Tyler.
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for standing there so patiently while I tried to get through my rigmarole. This is my first time doing this, obviously, so it's like I don't know what all I need to say. So I'm just trying to say everything all at once.
There's a steep learning curve.
Yeah. Um. So So tell us a little bit about your shop. You're in Portland,
We're in
Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. We're in the Hollywood district. We're a pretty large shop. We have a huge kids section. A lot of like half of our stores, more than half, is graphic novels. We have a whole line of recent, comics from the last 6 months, all along the wall. We have a back issue room of a couple hundred boxes. I think there's 300 boxes of back issues back there for people to go through.
It's a
Mostly just
beautiful back issue
on
room.
that stuff. Yeah, some toys, some posters. Most of our big focus is new and old comics and graphic novels.
Yeah, I
But we have
bet.
a little bit of other stuff for other people too.
And you're a pretty big shop too, right? You got like how many square feet are you?
It's when we moved in, it was more. It's changed a little. I think it's about 3,500 square feet. So that's
That's
pretty. Our
awesome.
first shop was 800 square feet, which is about the size of our back issue room, which was after that was when we first opened, and after about a year we outgrew that, and then we stayed for a couple more years just because it was cheap rent and they had good parking there. But so and I miss that shop actually since I drive by it all the time, and I see different businesses go in and out of it. And sometimes when I see a for rent sign, I think like, oh, maybe we should open that store back up.
Cosmic Monkey too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get started on the drawing. What I'll be doing today is Godzilla, and while we chat, I'll be drawing that. So, how long have you owned Cosmic Monkey?
It'd be 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 years at the first location, and then maybe it's 18 years now because yeah, we've been here 15 at this spot, which isn't too far from where that first location was. And it's been kind of cool seeing the neighborhood in the last 15 years change around here because when we moved in, there was like a karate studio next to us, and then like a jewelry store and an insurance store. But now it's all chocolate and bakeries and coffee. And then the giant food cart pod opened up down the street, which is great for our lunch breaks. Opened up a whole new world of options for us, which is pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
There's a really great neighborhood around here of just families. At the old location, we hardly ever got any kids in there, but we noticed right away when we opened here, we started getting a lot of families coming in, and it's really allowed us to grow our kids section like in leaps and bounds. It's just been really pretty impressive. And Free Comic Book Day gets a lot of those families into.
Yeah, your free comic book days are bonkers.
Pretty bonkers.
They're pretty great. I've
It's unfortunately going to be postponed this year, and they don't know exactly what day it might happen later, if it does happen, depending on what's going on right now.
yeah, no, it's so like you just can't plan anything right now. It's so
You can't.
frustrating.
It is.
So you've had this place for 17 years. What made you decide to like take the plunge and start doing comics? Like, did you work
Um,
retail before that, or?
yeah, I worked at a local shop here for a couple years, and then I started working there for trade, and I got hired on and worked there for a couple years, and then started doing
Wait,
conventions.
you were working there for trade, like
Yeah,
basically we're just working for comics.
yeah,
That's
which is great.
awesome.
That's all I wanted. I was
Yeah,
happy to just be able to get comics. Yeah.
that's
So
amazing.
yeah, no, it was pretty awesome. Um, and I don't know. Yeah, I just started doing conventions, and then my wife, my ex-wife at the time, told me when we were together that when I stopped working there, I had to start paying for the comics. I wasn't working for trade for them anymore, and she was like, "We can't afford to keep buying all these comics." So I started selling off my old comics to be able to buy the new ones, and then I started to get pretty good at it. So I started buying people's collections up and just trying to flip them for more money to get more comics. And then I just kind of kept doing that, and I would end up with money, but I kept ending up with a lot of extra comics too.
What was that in the was that in the 90s then, or the
Yeah, yeah, it
like
would have been
early 2000s?
shop opened 2003, but yeah, it would have been. My son was born in '95, my oldest, and so it was probably, I guess, '96 is when I started working for trade at the shop, and then I would help them with conventions. And a guy who worked there named Jeff, he showed me how he did conventions, and so I just kind of modeled it after him a little bit. He showed me some of the ins and outs and behind the scenes stuff. So
That's a really interesting thing about running comic shops is like I've talked to so many people who there's like a very loose what do you call that, where you like when you're an electrician you have to be an apprenticeship, like
yeah,
people tend to apprentice places to run a shop, which is interesting. Like I kind of doubt that that happens in like if you open up a clothing store or like a candle shop or something, you know what I mean? Like, but it
well, and
really
I think it's a great way. Like if you can get hired on, like I had a friend who wanted to open a coffee place, I think, and I was told them like you should work at a coffee place for a year and learn everything you can, like get paid to learn stuff because and take some business classes would be the other uh, side of that art thing. I would definitely encourage people to do. I never actually did that, but and I'm regretting that now. But I can definitely see the value in learning as learn as everything you can before you just jump into it. I think I just got really lucky with a couple different breaks, but it's a really risky thing, especially right now. To you have so much money tied up in inventory, and and, and rent is so high right now. It just seems like trying to start a store now would just be, or even 6 months ago, I would not just I always recommend just don't do it. Just wait. And there's also in Portland, there are so many stores, and they're all great. And so I don't even know where you'd be able to shoehorn another one in that would maybe offer something different that the other stores don't offer.
yeah, no, there's it's surprising that there are so many shops in Portland and so many good shops in Portland. Yeah,
Definitely.
because like I've definitely been in cities where there were a lot of shops, but like um, you know, some were way better than others, you know. But this one is like Portland is definitely like there's a lot of great shops. And it's fun because I think it makes all the shops better too, because when you're like competing with world class shops, you know, you have to be a world class shop.
Yeah, you have to up your game.
Yeah.
Def- And there's constantly like books with pictures here in town. They're definitely a smaller shop, but they put on these amazing events and they do so much great community outreach. They're really inspiring to me. Floating World downtown is like the amount of inventory he has that no other shop has, like small press and foreign edition. It just blows my mind. Like those two shops are constantly, and there's other ones too, but those are the ones that really knock me back quite a
Yeah.
bit with what they're offering. They make me want to be a better shop for sure.
So what are you doing right now while everyone's quarantined and locked down to sell comics? Like
Well,
how
we're
are people buying comics from you right now?
right now. So we sent out an email when this first happened, just letting our subscription customers know, like, oh, we're still here. You can do curbside pickup, or we can mail them to you. So making sure they all still get their comics. A lot of people just randomly are calling and um, just letting us just we'll walk around. Unfortunately, we don't have an online store, which is something we've been working towards. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, this all happened before we were ready to take the plunge into that. So we walk around, and if people have specific books they're looking for, we're able to tell them if we have them in stock or if we can order them for them. And then same thing, set them up. We run them over the phone and get them ready for either pickup or shipping if they want to do that. We're doing some delivery also.
Okay, just in town, I presume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and even in town, it's kind of like Maine, Portland isn't bad, but when you start getting to Gresham, Vancouver, or Beaverton, those are kind of
Yeah.
those are quite a ways away.
Although I bet traffic's pretty good right now.
It is, and I have a lot of podcasts I like to listen to while I'm driving around, so that's always enjoyable.
um, do you want to show people some of your shop?
Sure.
You're just sort of on your laptop.
Yeah, this is like I'm in the kids section right now, so kind of starts over here. If I can get out of the way. But this is the section we've kind of been working on the most. I mean, we're working on everything, but this is the ones that seems to have really grown the most over the last 5 years, probably.
Yeah, you have a really good kids section, and you have little benches set up there so kids can
Yeah,
sit there and read and stuff while everyone's shopping around. I've seen a lot of kids like just sort of hanging there, which
yeah,
is
it's pretty
awesome.
great. Just sometimes you'll see kids just sitting there and reading, and we don't mind that at all. We actually encourage it. It's a great feeling, like seeing kids reading comics and excited about them.
Yeah, no,
This
I've
is
always felt like the whole like, "Hey kid, this ain't a library" is like that's just the best way to like chase a kid out of the store rather
Yeah,
than like
yeah, we
selling a
feel that
book.
way too. A lot of people get concerned about conditions of the book and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
but with yeah, I don't know, with kids' books, I think everyone's the kids and the adults, everyone is definitely more into reading than they are the condition of those issues. And
They're not taking their like Raina Telgemeier home and putting it in a bag and a board and like
no
sliding it into a
CGC,
box in the closet.
yeah, no sending them off to be graded. We also have a lot of supplies. Speaking of condition, a lot of people like to store, and I do that too. I store. Uh, I've been working on in this downtime. I've been actually working on my own collection, which I haven't done for probably 10 years. I've been putting everything in order and alphabetizing it. And
Uh-oh, I lost you. Oh no, we lost Andy. You should I'm gonna give him a call on the telephone really quick here. Have him reconnect. That's the fun of doing a live stream. Um, I can't remember if I said Hawk Hero. Yeah, Cosmic Monkey is a great store. It's amazing how just what a beautiful store it's in. It's such a great building, great selection. Oh, my phone is on the screen. Thank you. Sorry for the dead space. It's hard to talk and dial numbers at the same time. Let's see if Andy picks up or if he's still telling us about his shop on his laptop. And you can see the Cosmic Monkey contact info right there on the screen. If you wanted to call Andy yourself, you could. Tell him to reconnect to his meeting. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining us. He's not answering. Let's see if... Yeah. Hey, here we go. Yes. Hey! Hey, how you doing?
Sorry about that.
That is okay.
I had the phone unplugged too, so I saw you trying to call. I was like, oh, what's he? Are we still on?
Yeah, we're
I
still
hit the
live.
on. There was an on and off switch on the side, and I totally bumped it.
Oh, you like just turned off your computer?
Yeah.
That's good.
I was just talking about the supplies. We sell a lot of Japanese manga, also. So we have all that, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, you have a lot of like full runs of stuff too, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's hard though. You can't carry everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of a European section over here. Stuff I like a lot. Those nice French painted graphic novels, heavy metal, and 2000 AD Judge Dredd. There's some featured stuff. Got a kind of a biography, real life sort of section over here where we keep some of that stuff. I actually sell a lot of DVDs, which I was surprised this week.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but
It's such a small section, like it doesn't take up hardly any square footage either. Like
yeah. We used to just kind of carry a couple here and there, but they kept selling, and we just kind of kept growing them. But yeah, in this streaming age, you'd think we'd be selling less of them, but it's still all the Miyazaki ones just constantly sell.
yeah, because those are those. I don't even know if those are streaming anywhere right now.
Old comic rack back in the day.
That squeak. That's
All
the
those,
sound of comics, man.
These are the new comics that come out every week when they are coming out, like they're supposed to. We put them all along these shelves. Doing some rearranging over here, so that one's empty. But these shelves are kind of cool because they're from an old comic distributor warehouse that used to be in Portland called Second Genesis.
Oh yeah.
And eventually Diamond bought them and acquired these racks, but then they eventually closed that warehouse. And a guy who was working there, when we opened up here, I went on Craigslist looking for shelving, and this guy had all these shelves. And I was like, oh, those would be perfect for comics. I didn't know they were actually made for comics. It was kind of neat that we had saved that part of comic book distribution history.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That is not what I would have imagined the shelving to look like at a distributor. Like
yeah, well, they're really deep, so you could fit I don't know if we got a big pile. I'm sure we have some
Oh
big pile of
yeah, like
something, but like this is just a stack of probably about 20 comics, and you could probably fit another 20 on that stack. And I imagine they would put like a big chunk there, and the stores would come, and I don't think they even had to pre-order back then. I think they would just come in and they would just have the new X-Men and the new Spider-Man, and they would just say, "Oh, I'll take 20 of those," or it's just make a. They would have boxes and fill
oh
up shopping
wow,
carts. Or something. I think that's how they did it. I'll have to do some more research on that.
that's really interesting though. Like it's so hard to even imagine like the what it was before Diamond. You know what I mean? Like
It really is,
they've
yeah.
been so ubiquitous for so long.
They really have.
And here's like your graphic novel wall and your
Yeah, that's
Funkos.
just I just did like P through Z, but then there's this whole middle section here, and it flips onto the other side too. So this is G through P on this side, and then A through F. We got some featured graphic novels over here too. I don't know if I'm walking too fast.
Seems fine. If anyone in the comments thinks we're gonna make him motion sick, let us know. And then you got the back issues room.
Yeah, yeah. And we also have a loft. It's up these
Oh,
stairs
that's
up there.
right.
But we got a bunch of used kids books up there, so like Dr. Seuss and just random kids books. That I go to garage sales a lot, so I'll pick up a lot of kids books. This is the back issue room. Comic history. Got a bunch of zines and small press local stuff.
Yeah, you have some like I always liked your
Over
magazine
here.
selection. Uh-oh, did we lose you again? Maybe the Wi-Fi isn't so good in that room. That's why we're live streaming, so we can have fun with all this stuff. Let me make sure that he didn't actually disconnect. Nope. He's still there. He's just frozen. All right. So anyway, I'm making good progress on this Godzilla. I think Andy should be reconnecting in just a second. So, for those listening who don't know, we were talking about Diamond is in North America, they're the biggest distributor of comic books. Well, they're really the only distributor. There's some book distributors like I know Penguin Random House does distribution, but they don't focus on the direct market in the same way that that Diamond does. And they're having like everyone else, they're having all of their problems with everyone having to stay home, so they're not processing new books right now. So yeah, and since they're really the only distributor of comics, well, they're definitely the only distributor of like monthly floppies in North America. Yeah, them closing their doors for the last couple weeks has put a kibosh on everything. Oh, looks like Andy's back. Hey, you're back.
Yeah, that time it wasn't my fault. And that back issue room there's huge cement walls, and so we have terrible reception back there, and so just lost Wi-Fi.
That's as soon as like I saw the screen freeze, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
That room. Yeah. So what books are you excited about nowadays?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm really excited about Strange Adventures from DC, the Mitch Garrett and Tom King. Oh no, forgetting his name now.
Doctor Strange?
Adam
No,
Strange.
Adam Strange. Yeah, not Doctor
Yeah,
Strange.
yeah. Yeah, I loved his Uh, well, I love the vision that they did, but also that Mr. Miracle uh, miniseries that came out last year was really, really awesome.
I have not read those. I've seen a lot of the art though, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. What else am I really excited about? There's this book called from Image called Protector. I thought was pretty cool. I don't know if I could show you
Oh yeah, I saw.
copies of it right now.
Um, I don't know if you know the YouTube show
This thing.
Strip Panel Naked did a thing
Protector's kind of
on.
Godzilla-ish. Oh no, I don't know that
Yeah,
one.
they did a little breakdown of like the first 4 pages of that, and it looked beautiful. It looked like a lot of sort of formalist stuff going on, but in usually that stuff is reserved for artsy fartsy comics, and doing it in a more sort of sci-fi thing was interesting.
Tend to test the like. I try to check out a lot of number ones just to kind of get an idea of what's going on with them. So when people sign up for them, I can have some knowledge of what it's about. There's
Yeah.
so many comics coming out all the time. I like this Joe Hill line that DC has. These the Hill House comics. They're doing like basket full of heads, but
Is
reminds
that
me of like old Vertigo kind of style.
more than one book? Is it just
Yeah,
like
there's
a
only like 4 or 5 of them right now. Kelly Jones is actually doing one of them.
oh, for reals?
Yeah, I think he's doing. I want to say Plunge, but I'm gonna be embarrassed if I got that wrong. Let's see here. No, that was Stuart Immonen is doing the Plunge one. Can't remember which one Kelly Jones is doing now off the top of my head.
That's pretty exciting though. I haven't seen a new book from him in a while. I haven't been explicitly looking, but
The last thing I think he did was that he finished off the Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein book, Alive, Alive. He did that
oh,
last
that's
issue.
right.
Craig Thompson's Ginseng Roots. Are you familiar with Craig Thompson?
Yeah.
Blankets. Yeah, that's kind of a cool one. I like a lot. Anything he does, there's a certain creators. Anything they do, I'm just gonna pick up no matter what.
Yeah, he's kind of a Portland staple too.
Yeah, he just moved again. He kind of has come and gone a few times over the years, but just when all this craziness just happened, I think he just ended up moving. Not because of that. Yeah, I think he was already had that works, but and I can't even remember where he moved to, but I'm sure he'll be back again. But he's definitely got a long history with Portland.
Yeah, and that's like, is that Fantagraphics?
No,
Or
it's Uncivilized Press. I think is publishing it right now.
okay.
Got these cool. These ones are cool over here.
The little Harrow counties. Yeah, look
In
at
the
them bad boys.
age sections.
That's so neat, man. I still get such a kick out of seeing my book in stores. Like that's
Yeah, I
incredible.
wonder if it's uh, a band hearing their song on the radio for the first time, or seeing their CD
Yeah.
in a
And
music store.
it's just like it's like you work so hard and you have the book in your hands for so long, and then like to see it out in the world like doing its own thing. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's weird because it like takes on a life of its own. Like somebody who's reading it could have a completely different experience than what you would with that book than
Yeah.
or like have you ever the thing that always trips me out is like when you see people get like tattoos of characters you've made or something and it's permanently on their body.
I
Is
haven't
that
gotten that yet, which I'm kind of glad. I think that might stress me out.
I know it would be I've had one guy who he had somebody like on a free comic book day we have local writers and artists set up and they drew drawings for people and somebody did a drawing of this person and his daughters and one of his daughters was wearing a Cosmic Monkey t-shirt and so then he took that drawing and got a tattoo of it the picture of him with his daughters and so on one of his daughters it says Cosmic Monkey and I was like what that is so
That's
like
weird.
it's weird it's very flattering but it's also like this responsibility where of like wow that's going to be
Yeah.
It's gonna be on you forever or
Yeah,
quite a while.
when your grandkids come in and be like, "Well, I knew about Yusuf from my granddad's tattoo."
Yeah.
Yeah, well, how many people do you got working there?
Well, we had 6, that's including me, but now we've it's right now with everything that's going on, we only have 2, just me and I have an employee named Kevin who's here, but everyone else is just um, we just unfortunately had to lay everyone off. They're going to be coming back as soon as things start up again, and
Yeah.
they all know that. But yeah, I felt they can hopefully get more money from the state right now, hopefully than what we have because we're barely squeaking by right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's probably the case across the board, really.
Yeah, we're lucky that we're still able to do curbside. Like some states don't even allow that right now, so those stores are really like San Francisco's. I know is suffering a lot right now.
Oh, are they not even allowed to do curbside there? I didn't.
Yeah, like Brian Hibbs, Mission Street Comics Experience, all those guys are just not even allowed. Yeah, I don't even know if they could do mail order because I don't know if they're even allowed to go to the shop to mail things off. And New York obviously is having that same problem too.
Yeah.
Although I wonder if Midtown's still open because they have a huge mailing system up there. But I haven't had. I've been so busy doing my own stuff. I haven't been able to keep track of my
Yeah.
everyone else.
No, and I've had to like really dial back my media consumption about any of this stuff because it's like it's well, for one thing, there's nothing I can do,
Yeah, that's
about 99.999% of it. So like it just it's just gonna give me nightmares instead of actually giving me something to do.
some of it. I have to pay attention to because people ask me questions a lot that I have to be able to answer, and we have to figure out what we're allowed to do here and what we're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
And then the information keeps changing every couple hours too, so you got to
Yeah.
keep up with it also. So I noticed when it first came on, I was trying to pay attention to everything, but there's just so much out there that it's just you got to start scrolling past some of the stuff that got to start prioritizing the information you're going to take in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it started like as I was like, oh, I got to start promoting doing this live stream thing, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere near the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were telling me before the show that you've been going through your archives, or you just like going through your
Yeah.
stock and finding cool stuff. Um, anything you want to share?
Oh, wow. I'm trying to think. Like I'm kind of organizing. Yeah, in the last 10 years of doing the shop, I haven't really had time to deal with my own collection. So I've been, organizing everything, seeing if I'm missing issues. Like right now, I'm kind of going through my favorite stuff is always kind of weird size stuff. So like magazine size stuff or digest, like just weird sizes. So I have like 10 boxes of magazine size stuff right now. I'm kind of going through and getting in order. I like to read back issue magazine a lot. Just it kind of all these interviews and articles about stuff that I was reading when I first got into comics in the 80s, like the late 80s.
Is that
It's
is that magazine still coming out?
yeah, it comes
I
out
guess it's embarrassing to say that because
tomorrow's.
it's such a staple, but I haven't actually ever read that. I've never been that kind of collector, really.
Yeah, I love that history of it, and that you hear these background stories of like things that were gonna happen and then ended up not happening. Like that's the stuff I'm always really kind of blows me away sometimes. But I think they've had like 100 and they're up to almost 120 issues of it. I think it comes out every other month.
Okay.
And then they have that publisher they do a book called Alter Ego, which I don't read that one as much. That one's a little before me. That deals more with like the 50s and 60s probably of comics. Occasionally, if it's something I'm interested in, I'll pick up that issue. But I tend to same thing. I can only read so
Yeah.
many of these things.
Who's the publisher of that?
Tomorrow's, I think
Oh,
they're called.
Tomorrow's. It's like
Yeah,
Isn't that's like run by some brothers or something, right? And their last name is Morrow.
I think so. I want to say John. I don't know. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I'm not
I
totally
think
sure.
that was like their name is that a pun on there's two Morrows, which is,
Oh,
if I'm right, that's a great pun. That's
yeah,
top
yeah.
notch.
I was like looking at old logos of, like Marvel and DC, like the logos from or even the companies that aren't around anymore, like Pine Comics. Actually, one of the things in back issues that I've probably been reading more back issues than I have new ones lately, but just digging through my old stuff, and I've really been obsessed with old Dennis the Menace comics from the 70s, like just the
Yeah.
animation. It's almost like Alex Toth. It's just this simplicity of the design where there aren't very many lines there, but they're also like so perfectly placed that it just blows me away.
I was reading something about those a couple years ago, and it was like the guy who did the Dennis the Menace comic like weekly strip or the daily newspaper strip.
That was Hank Ketchum.
Yeah, and he like
Yeah,
trained all these like people to ghost his work for the comics.
and I think a lot of people. I know Jim Davis of Garfield definitely did that, and I
Yeah.
don't know if Charles Schultz. I think he drew the actual comic strips, but there were like Peanuts um, comic books that were coming out, and I think he had like a studio of people that he trained maybe to draw those for him.
Oh,
And
that's
then I know
interesting.
Neil Adams definitely he trained a whole bunch of guys to draw the way he does because he was putting
Yeah.
out a whole Neil Adams continuity comics for a while. They had several of those guys just in his stable that he oversaw everything, but he was cranking that stuff out.
That actually makes sense. I have just picked up a bunch of well, I picked up a couple of his Star Trek story record comics
Oh, yeah.
where it comes with a
I
little
remember one with
45.
was there one with like this little Furby and it was like screaming in colors on the cover or something like that. I remember that's one that pops in my because I love those 45s for sure.
Oh, someone in the comments points out
Oh,
Hawk Hero says that John Morrow and his wife Pamela Morrow are the two Morrows.
oh, cool.
So that's it.
There you go. I think there's a guy named B B Cook that works on those too. Cooke.
On
The
the
name
two
pops.
on the two Morrows stuff.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, and lots of people probably write articles for him too. I'd imagine.
They have done some really cool books. They have one of my favorite things when I was first like starting to get serious about doing comics was a book that they did called actually it's right over here. Let me grab it.
Okay. What does Tyler have on his bookcases?
It's not here. I don't know Actually, it's not there. I don't know where I put it. But they did this book where it was like they took a script and had two or three different artists. It was just like a
Oh,
two-page story, and they'd have two
yeah.
or three different artists draw it, and then write up like their thought processes of how and why they put it together the way they did.
So would
And
they come up with different? Would they have the same amount of panels, and would it be different perspectives, or was
um,
it?
it depended on the artist. Like usually, like the panel count was like specified in the script, and people would
Yeah,
sort of stick to it. But it is really remarkable how different it is. I mean, people sort of think of the artist as being the person who just does what the writer told them to do. But
yeah.
yeah, from reading that book, you could really get a sense of how much the artist is the one who's actually telling you the story.
And it
Like,
depends on the writer because obviously like Alan Moore will be very detailed
yeah,
about what's
yeah,
to be in every panel, but then um, but yeah, and I'm not sure. But all the other guy, it depends. Some people are probably a lot looser depending on how much they trust the artist, I guess.
yeah, Yeah, although I find that a lot of the writers that I enjoy reading the most, when I've actually gotten a chance to like work with them, they're the scripts are remarkably like streamlined. You know what I mean? Like they're definitely like, I think part of why I like them as a writer is because they give the artist room to tell the story as hard as they can, you know?
I notice as I look at comics, and maybe that's why I like Dennis the Menace so much lately. But I notice like the more dialogue there is in a panel, the less I'm going to be want to invest the time into reading it. Like I like seeing more of the art and just the minimal, like just kind of a fun story. Like when it's really dense. And I know that, and I don't know if the scripts, if those writers, if their scripts are going to be equally dense with description, or if they're putting everything in the dialogue and then they're leaving the description really minor. I don't know.
Yeah, the scripts usually are sort of like, at least the ones that I'm talking about that I really like are the ones that are really like they just give you the absolute minimum of what you need
Yeah.
to tell the story clearly, you know? To like they make sure that you know that this person has to have a gun in panel 4 because, you know, it's going to show up again 2 pages later or whatever. Um,
I feel bad I don't know this, but do you, because you do so much watercolor, but does someone go in and color after you, or is all the color, are you the colorist also on all your stuff?
on all the stuff I've done recently, I'm the colorist. Yeah, like in fact I do. Well, there's like pre-production people at the publisher who do they actually do a lot of work, but I do like the stuff that I give them. I think my hope is always that it's like ready for them to just sort of like plug it in
Yeah.
and go. So because I give them like fully lettered, I letter it digitally, but I deliver them like computer files that are all lettered and all the colors are ready to go.
Oh,
And
you do all the
it's,
lettering too?
yeah, I've been doing all
Oh, I
my own
didn't know.
lettering
Oh,
since
wow.
Harrow County.
Wow.
Yeah. So have you been reading a ton of a manga then? Because you like you're saying you like stuff to be kind of decompressed.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was thinking about manga earlier too when we were talking kind of about those studios where people teach everyone to draw the same. And I was like, oh, that's definitely what's going on with manga with those huge page counts. They got a whole
Yeah.
team of people working on those books. But I don't read very many serialized ones. I kind of like the one and done one. That's the same with comics. Like I like little self-contained stories. You know, eventually I'll read a lot of the first issues, and if I like it, I'll wait for the trade to come out and read the rest of it. If it draws me enough. But
That's very
really like
refreshing to hear a shop owner be a trade waiter. That's
yeah. This because I don't want to. It's same thing. Like I just started going through all my comics again, so it's hard to get a whole story arc together. Like oh, what room did I leave that issue in, and what
yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's just having it all together in a trade is pretty nice. But so the mangas I read, I like the Jinju Ito. Those I usually don't like horror, but those little self-contained horror stories are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I like this one called Chi Chi's Sweet Home, where it's about a cat, and we keep it in our kids section actually, but it's and there's another cat one. I don't even have a cat, but there's What's Michael was one I like back in the day, and Dark Horse is recollecting those into these giant omnibuses that I think are
Yeah.
pretty.
The
They call
the
it Japan's Garfield, but it gets into some weird kooky stuff that Garfield doesn't ever touch on.
I've seen just like single pages of that, and it looks very surreal.
Yeah, yeah. The strange and the surreal ones are the ones that usually. Same with the back issues. I like just finding something weird that I've just never heard of and having it like kind of blow my mind a little bit. Like back in the '90s, like during Death of Superman and Batman got his back broke and all this image and the start of Image and all that stuff. I just kind of got burned down on superhero stuff, and I was like started really going, well, what else? But I still love comics. So I was like, well, what else is out there? And I started finding like Hate and Eight Ball and like all these weird underground comics, and that stuff was just really blowing me away. And so Then eventually I got back into superhero stuff again too. But so I kind of tried to read a little bit of everything just to see what's out there.
That sounds remarkably similar to how I was, like around that same time, like that sort of early to mid 90s. I got super burnt out, and then I found like I stopped reading comics really for a while, and then like I started finding Chris Ware stuff,
Yeah.
and it's something else that's interesting about reading. Like I find I read a lot of manga now, and I think a lot of it is I'm gonna put a thought together that I hadn't thought through all the way, but like when I was a kid reading like superhero comics, that stuff was bonkers. You know what I mean? It was like there's so much like weird stuff happening in like a regular comic. Like there's like, and you could tell like the writer like just smoked a doobie with some friends and was like, what if like a galaxy was a mouth, and like and then it would turn into a comic book. And like a lot of that feeling is sort of like it's not there in superhero comics anymore. Like they're a lot more they feel a lot more like the movies. But
I
like
wish I had been.
but manga stays weird.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they same thing. They don't get. They're similar to Image. Like I think it's more developed as far the more genres where it's like everything's not just geared towards superheroes. It's like
Yeah.
you got horror, you got romance, you got kid stuff, you got sci-fi, you got pirates, you got like it's all over the place. Like
Yeah.
um and I don't know. I feel like that gives everyone a chance to really like find what they like. And I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what comic creator this was, but he was going on. This was like in the '90s, some Comics Journal interview I was reading, but he was talking about how everything's geared towards superheroes, and like there used to be, uh, crime comics and horror comics and kids
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff, and it's all over the years. It's just all boiled down to superheroes, and he compared it to movies, and he's like that would be the equivalent of what if there's all these movies, but they're all about alcoholic clowns. And you can see this, like I think that's what he said, which is like maybe based off of Shakes the Clown or something. But he was like saying like they're all just different versions of alcoholic clown stories, and you got 100 different ones, but they're all basically just going to be an alcoholic clown story. Like you got to have other stuff in there too, because not everyone you can only read so many alcoholic clown stories.
Well, maybe you can. I could read those till the cows come home.
There's been some good ones. Shakes the Clown came out. I think it was considered it was considered the Citizen Kane of alcoholic clown movies.
Kilgore Trout on the comments is asking, does the dinosaur have a name? The dinosaur's name is Godzilla.
Oh, that dinosaur.
Yes.
You mean Godzuki's dad?
Yes, exactly. So when did you start reading comics? Were you just like a little kid when you started reading them, or?
Yeah, my grandparents had like a pile of comics at their house, so it was mostly Richie Rich and Archie.
That's interesting.
Some Disney stuff, no superheroes. I wish that would have been amazing. That would have blown my mind, but it was definitely Richie Rich, Archie, and some Disney stuff too.
Did they just have them because they had grandkids, or like?
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting because they would have been from like the '70s, so it weren't like it wasn't from my parents or my uncles or anything. So they must have got them like for us somewhere used or something, or maybe new. But so I would just reread those over and over again. And then I don't know, around the 5th or 6th grade, I was like, I hadn't read any comics since those, and I was just, back then there wasn't a lot of entertainment, and we had like 3 channels, and we would watch that. But and I think this might have been before VCRs even too. But like, I just started thinking about comics abstractly. I was like, what are those all about? Like, there's those superhero ones, but I've never read those. But people read them. They must be really good, but there must be something to them that people they're still making them.
Yeah.
And so I went down to like Plaid Pantry and 7-Eleven. They both had the spinner racks. So I picked up. I think the first superhero one I picked up was Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man number 76. Um, and then I got and I really liked it, and I got an Amazing Spider-Man one like the next day or later that week probably, and I got Marvel ones were kind of the ones that something about the Marvel ones made me more interested early on. Um, and then around that same time, then I started checking out the other one. I started checking out X-Men. Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham was
Oh my
coming out then.
God.
And
Yeah.
Captain Carrot also, or I was really into those, and still am. Uh, and then, and I was kind of lucky at that time. Um, Marvel Universe and Who's Who started coming out, which was like a encyclopedia of like all the characters they had. And
Yeah.
I got super caught up into the whole history because I was just playing catch up from these random issues that I wanted to know more backstory, and so it was a great way to learn about all these characters and all this history. And I just still I think those are amazing books and
Yeah.
great reference books.
Those are funny for me because I flipped my lid when I saw the Marvel Universe books were coming out when I was a kid. And I would get them and I would sort of like flip through them, but I could never like bring myself to really read them because it started to feel like homework. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
and and I loved the stories, but not enough to actually do homework about them.
I could and I could only afford like one or two comics a week, and so like it really gave me time to like I would read them, and then I'd be like, oh, I just had a lot of time to read them because I didn't have very many, and I didn't have money to get more of them. So I would
Hmm.
really the ones I would get, I would just kind of reread over and over again, and so I just had a lot of time to read those. I know what you mean about the text, and like I could never read that now. Like that's like when Cerebus lost me is when it started becoming like this
An
this text
illustrated
heavy.
novel.
Yeah, I made it through the first one through Chaka's story, but then after that, I just it was like, okay, I'm done with this. And, uh, but yeah, I was just gonna say we were talking earlier about um, just the weird when you first start reading comics and just the craziness of the superhero things. And I really wish I'd lived. I've picked up a lot of them since then, but I really wish I'd been getting like DC comics in the '60s, like those. I mean, Fantastic Four also would have been a great example of craziness, like really inventive, like thinking. But those Superman, like Jimmy Olsen, and like just some of the weird
Yeah.
stuff they were doing back then, and the Lois Lane comics back then were I just love seeing that stuff. Just, I think that stuff's
That
really bonkers,
that stuff
but
is
in the best way. That's like how I want things to be. Almost like, have you ever read The Flaming Carrot?
yeah.
Like I feel like that his the way he does stuff is based off a lot of that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're reprinting a lot of those Flaming Carrots right now,
Yeah,
which is cool.
we should get that back. Remember?
Or I guess they're collecting it. I don't
Yeah,
know if
yeah.
it would be a reprint, but yeah, no, I love that stuff. Man, in fact there's a joke that I've like been retelling from a Flaming Carrots comic that and it's I always have to describe this and I've been doing this for years because it's so funny to me. And it's the one where there's like a one-page thing where it's like an intro to the Flaming Carrot and like every panel it says like something cool about him. And then one of the panels it says like this gentle soul notices things that um, most people like don't notice in their daily lives. And he's like standing in a field and there's a horse out in the field and he's just pointing at the horse going, horse. It's like, yep, that's him.
That reminds me of my favorite Far Side. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely in the top five. The favorite Gary Larson Far Side cartoon where this guy is standing in the front of his house with a paint brush and a bucket of paint, and the house like on the front of it, I think it says like the door says he had painted door on the front of it, and mailbox he had painted mailbox, and dog he painted dog on the side of dog, and everything had been like painted in front of his house, and he's just standing there, and after he's done, he's just looking, and he's like, "Well, that should clear up a few things around here."
Man, wasn't he like gonna start making comics again?
Yeah, he's got a website, and there's a lot of archival stuff on there, and I've signed up for it, and I've gone back and checked a few times, but I don't know if I've seen a new one on there yet. But hopefully someone will say in the comment section will let us know if there are new ones, if we should check them out, because I've been excited but nervous to see to see these new Far Side ones,
Yeah.
comic strips.
Yeah, no, it could definitely break bad.
One of the Far Side books had this. He did like these little introductions at the front of them sometime, and it had these things that weren't like, he had created some original content where it was like childhood drawings that he had done when he was a kid. Only he had done them recently, but it was meant to look like he had done them
Okay.
as a child.
Yeah.
Uh, they were pretty hilarious. But the one I really remember is like, this was a family trip we went on, and it's just like it's just pitch black, and it's like he's in the trunk of a car, and you can see the spare tire and the jack, and you just see like the white of his eyes, like in the trunk of his car. Oh,
That's
that was good.
I should actually send that to my parents. When I was a kid, every like family trip we went on, we always just we had Dodge Colt. I don't know if you remember those.
Bad about
They're
cars.
like a miniature hatchback thing.
Okay,
And with 4 kids, we would go on trips, and it was basically like a kid had to be in the trunk basically to make
yeah,
everyone
but
come.
it was a trunk it was a window though, right? It
Yeah,
wasn't
it was like
actually.
the back of the hatchback
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, but there wasn't a seat or a seatbelt.
No, no,
No, no.
that would be insane.
We used to go on these trips where we had my dad had a pickup with a camper on the back of it. So we'd go camping with that, but you could only fit 3 people in the front. So me and my brothers would always be in the back of this camper while I was driving down the streets. And uh, and so we'd be back there for like hours
Yeah.
going down. And occasionally you'd have to go to the bathroom. And we'd had walkie talkies, but they didn't always work. And so you tried tapping on the window to let them know. Sometimes they wouldn't know. And once I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention or I just really had to go to the bathroom, but I was knocking so loud on the window, my hand went through the window. I had to pull over, bandage up my hand, go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
I don't know if I should be telling these stories.
Yeah, maybe we'll get back to comics.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so I don't even know what really to talk about. We've run through my script, but
No, that's okay.
like one of the things about owning a shop is it's not like there's not there's really like no one in comics who's a millionaire. You know? Like everyone in comics
Maybe
is
Todd McFarlane or something.
yeah, maybe. You know, Kevin Eastman was for a couple months, you know.
Sure.
Um,
I wanted Peter Laird might have more money than Kevin Eastman does at this point.
yeah, probably. But like, I don't know, it really amazes me how at every level of this business it's a labor of love for everyone, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like I don't know where I'm going with that. Just wanted to acknowledge like
No, that's good because I always think that too, but it's always good to put that out there because a lot of people don't know that because there are people who think people are getting rich with with all those Marvel movies. Everybody must be getting rich in comics now.
yeah.
It's like anytime these movies come out, we don't sell any extra uh, Avenger books or anything like that. It's just the movies make all the money, and then we just try to keep the mythos going by having those
Yeah.
books out. But which is fine. Which is it's something as bad as things are right now, like we're still going to be here no matter how bad things get. Like even if we're not getting paid or anything, we're still going to figure a way to do this because it's just something we love doing. Like
Yeah. No, and it's the same with me. Like if imagine if things got so bad that if I couldn't keep making books, um, I would get a job doing something else and then keep making books, you know,
Yeah,
at night or whatever.
we always hear about comic artists like having to give up comics and go do like storyboarding or like video game design or something, and then they always. But then you hear about these storyboarders that like always want to get into comics.
Yeah,
Like everyone wants to do it, but it's hard to do because it, especially for artists, it just takes so long compared to writing and stuff. Like it's just such a time consuming
there
thing.
was there's a cool story I heard about when Jack Kirby got into doing Hollywood stuff when he was working on like the Fantastic Four cartoon and all that stuff. He like at that point in the comics biz, he was like not popular. Like he wasn't. He was considered old timey or whatever. So when he showed up at the studios and was like, "Hey, I'm Jack Kirby. I'm here to smoke a pipe and draw some stuff," everyone was just like, "Holy shit, man! You're fucking Jack Kirby for reals?" And it was very edifying for him.
I wonder if that happened on maybe a smaller scale, but like I love these reproduction. I think this might have been a Tomorrow book, but there are these great. I don't know, maybe it's Vanguard, but these collections of like the character designs Alex Toth did for animation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever seen it? Like, there's just so like they're just these beautiful designs. You know, Space Ghost obviously being the most famous one, but
Yeah.
I think that was the most famous one. He did other ones that were more famous, but that was the one he really. I don't know. I don't know where it's going with that. But I wonder if when he went into animation, same thing. If those guys were there were like, "Whoa, this is Alex Toth! Holy crap!"
Yeah. All right. I think this Godzilla is done. Dunzo. Can you see him? Or do you have him up on the?
I was just gonna move over to the. I don't want to get feedback. I can't see him. I'm still. There's a time delay, so I'm still talking.
Oh yeah.
What the hell am I talking about? Why did you let me go on so long, Tyler?
Yeah, I was trying to keep it to an hour, and I think we just hit an hour. So
Oh, cool. Do you want to? Can you hold it up to the thing?
yeah.
Oh wait, no, I
Yep.
can see it. There it is. There's that other one. I can see it there. Never mind. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What? Wow.
Roar. All right.
Wow,
So
thank you.
so like I said at the beginning, basically I'm gonna plop this in the mail tomorrow, and I'm gonna send it to your shop, and then the deal is anyone who who buys $100 or more or spends $100 or more in your shop will be entered to win this in a drawing.
And that's
Uh,
from today
from
being
today,
Sunday till Wednesday.
the end of the day on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And so, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to. I don't know what I was gonna say.
Well, I was gonna say, so you can just go to, you can call us at 503-517-9050. Or you can email us at cosmicmonkeycomics@earthlink.net. We're one of the last people to have an Earthlink email. We're pretty proud of that. And we're also on Instagram at Cosmic Monkey, and we're on Facebook. So all the typical social media things, you can reach us any of those ways. Unfortunately, we don't have our inventory online to look at, but if we're called, we can tell you what we have in stock and give you some suggestions. And we do curbside pickup or mail order. So however people want to do it would be great,
Awesome.
and we
Yeah, and
appreciate
you're more than happy to talk to people when they call up.
it. Yes.
Great. Well, I think we'll call that a wrap. And I guess if anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'm on Twitter at drawn to the shop, and you can email me on my website, mrcrook.com, mrcrook.com. All right. Well, thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate you doing this.
Oh, thank you, Tyler. This is so nice of you to think of stores and devote your time and your talent to helping us all out.
Yeah, I mean, for reals, like my I've been making comics professionally for almost 10 years now, and I've never like no job or industry I've ever worked in has had the same sort of level of community and stuff where
No, yeah,
everybody has this exact same love of comics, and it's really, and there's just so many great, and there's a lot of turds in comics, but there's so many, like, the good people really outnumber them, 100 to 1.
yeah.
and and yeah, so I'm happy to spread the love to all the shops that help make my career possible. Yeah. All
Thank
right,
you.
man. Well, I am going to end the stream, right?
Bye, everybody.